To conclude our week of focusing on hallowing God's name, I want to share with you from Psalm 54. This is a brief psalm, it's only 7 verses long, so you can read the whole thing very quickly. And this is one of the psalms that comes with what's called a superscription. There's a little description under the title that says, "To the leader with stringed instruments," so they would have played this accompanied by strings, "a maskil of David, when the Ziphites went and told Saul, David is in hiding among us." So, in other words, we have a psalm that David wrote when he was hiding from King Saul, and knowing that Saul and his men were out if they found him to kill him, and he's been betrayed. Someone has shared with Saul his location. And perhaps it's in that time that David writes this psalm that begins, "Save me, O God, by your name, and vindicate me by your might. Hear my prayer, O God. Give ear to the words of my mouth." And then the next few verses just describe his situation, ask God to be his helper, to uphold him. And then our verse is verse 6, which brings us back to God's name, like verse 1. "With a free will offering, I will sacrifice to you. I will give thanks to your name, O Lord, for it is good." Sometimes I think we all have to acknowledge that we like it when life goes goes well and goes better, and we don't have trials and tribulations and health challenges and everything else. The hard truth of life is that we all have them. We all have health challenges. We have trials and tribulations and tests and hardship and suffering and grief. This is just part of the universal human experience, and we can't get away from it. And Psalm 54 is an example of that. Here's David. He's running for his life. He's hiding for his life. He's, fearful that, his enemies may overtake him. And what does he do? He prays to God, which is, of course, always a good thing to do when we're in a tight spot. And he begins and ends almost by focusing on God's name. "Save me, O God, by your name." He wants to glorify God by God acting in his life to deliver him and save him. And then in verse 6 at the end, he says, "With a free will offering." And that means, hey, no one's compelling me to do this. No one's forcing me to do this. I want to freely give of myself and my resources to praise the name of God. And I will give thanks to your name. And there's this combination of our thanks is expressed in our prayers, in our praise, in our worship. It's expressed in our giving tangibly to God, because God's name is good. And I hope at the end of this week, our first week in our Lord's Prayer series, as we've talked about hallowing God's name in different ways and exalting God's name and not wanting to profane the name of God by our behavior or our choices. I hope that you will go forward holding on to the name of God in a slightly different way than when we began the week, and that you will do all you can every day to uphold and bless the name of the Lord.